Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a Friday morning edition of Nation Talks. As always, I've got my friend Koom here, who is now a league champion in his whatever league he plays in. We got my boy Chris and Danger Dan here manning the topics of discussion. There's a lot to talk about today. A couple things in the playoffs, a couple things from our beloved Oilers, and just some general tomfoolery of whatever we get to. Dan, what is our first topic of the day?
First thing we're going to talk about is the soup du jour. The flavor du jour of last night was Nazem Kadri's hit on Tommy Wingles.
He is a delicious soup.
He is. And whether we think it's a suspension or not.
Oh, he's definitely getting suspended.
Yeah, but how many?
Well, if they do the old one playoff game as worth 2 regular season games, I could see him getting 1 game.
Oh, no. But now, since of Doughty's hit the night before, you got to compare it to that.
But Doughty didn't get suspended.
He got 1 game.
Did he?
Yep.
Oh, snap.
How is this
that
news
was
to everybody?
That was a thing that happened here at HQ yesterday. I misled the masses because I saw somebody's tweet that said that Doughty wasn't getting anything.
So I blame Dan.
Blame Dan.
Chris informed me this morning that Doughty got 1 game. So in return to that, to Chris's point, I think that Kadri gets 2.
Kadri gets minimum 2.
I can see him getting 2 because he's got an in-person hearing, I believe, Chris.
And he's a dummy.
He's an dummy.
He's a dummy.
Does he have a history of suspensions? Has he been suspended
I'm
before?
sure he
Kadri's
has.
been suspended, I think I heard on SportsCenter 3 times before.
Okay, so if he
I
has
could
a
be
history,
wrong. If that's not the case, correct me in the chat.
There's an extremely damning picture of him, like about 1.5 feet off the ground, kind of flying there. So I mean, I think if you're taking that jump, then you're going to get suspended for that for sure.
Has anyone thought of the idea of maybe Kadri was trying to avoid the dude who was kneeling down and he was trying to jump
By
over
jumping
top
at his
of him?
head?
No, he's trying to jumping over top of him.
He was just a
And
big
missed.
fan of the Enterprise Rent-A-Car ad and wanted to get a better look at it.
Yep.
The problem with that theory is that after the game, he admitted that he had seen Wingles elbow Marner.
Well, he has to.
And noticed that there wasn't
Has
going to be a penalty, and then decided to hit him in the head.
I think one of the bigger stories, Danger Dan, you run hockey fights, is that Nazem Kadri did not get absolutely dummied by Zdeno Chara, who's the first man on the scene. Also a terrifying human being.
Yeah, the next topic that we were going to kind of talk about is Don Cherry's opinion about that.
Let's get into her. What old Don say?
Let's go to Chris for the official.
Chris, what Don say?
Don said that if this was the olden days and Mitch Marner got elbowed to the head, Nazem Kadri would have just dropped his gloves and went and fought Wingles. But he can't do that anymore, so now he has to go hit him from behind.
Is this your plea to get rid of the instigator rule?
It's not my plea. I don't agree with it.
See, I disagree with Don to the point, like you said, I do run hockey fights, and I think the instigator rule is a stupid rule. But I don't think Kadri necessarily would have, or Kadri would have necessarily dropped the gloves. But I think somebody should have dropped the gloves with Kadri. That's like his retaliation is something that exists in hockey, and that's always been the way. But then the instigator rule comes into effect because then you would respond afterwards, and you can't do that anymore.
Koom, what do you think of this, of how things shook out here?
You know, the Boston Bruins used to be a really tough and exciting team, and this never would have happened to them back in the days in like 2011. And I think the missing piece for them is they're lacking one Milan Lucic on their roster.
They need some swagger.
Absolutely. So you see Kadri running around doing stuff like that to a star player like Tommy Wingles. You need to, in the off-season, they're going to have to take a long, hard look at their roster and be like, look, I think we're going to have to give up someone like Pasternak for Lucic, give up some soft Europeans, butter for some hard Milan Lucic. Make that swap with the Oilers and get some toughness back on your team.
Can you hear us, Don Sweeney? Can you hear us?
Please listen. Please take this plea.
From our lips to your ears, Don Sweeney, make it happen. Koom, what do you think for the Kadri hit? How many games?
I'd say 1 game.
1 game?
I think this playoff series, I mean, tinfoil hats and everything, this is an important series for the league, and I think they want this to go 7. I bet you it's just 1.
I think there will be... Do you think Kadri will fight after his suspension? I think, like, we're talking about...
Will he fight the commissioner? Is that what we're asking? Or?
I'd pay to see that.
I don't think he will fight the commissioner. But, like, we're talking about how no one... Out of all those dangerous hits in the game last night, there were no fights. Will there be a fight when Kadri returns? I think there will be.
I'm going to assume somebody challenges him and he does not oblige.
I think he will. I think Kadri is, like, he's...
Who won the Bruins to do it?
Chara?
Yeah, and he's gonna take that.
See, that'd be good for the Leafs because then you have 5 minutes or whatever with Chara not on the ice. That's awesome. Because
And Kadri hospitalized immediately. like, let's be honest, Chara would have tossed Kadri into the front row if he had actually fought him.
To wrap up this topic real quick, we all agree suspension, yes?
Yes, totally.
Yes,
1 game.
2 games.
2 games for Danger Dan. One thing that I wanted to bring up also from last... Sorry, Chris?
2 games.
2 games.
You're holding up 3.
One thing I wanted to bring up from last night's Leafs-Bruins game is Brad Marchand going for some sweet neck kisses on old Uncle Leo Komarov. What do you guys think?
Yeah, it's a weird
That is
thing.
weird.
It's a weird thing to do. It's a weird thing to do to another opponent. But
See, and I loved it. I thought it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
think
yeah.
it's
I think
so
it's great.
funny.
It's so good.
And I love the fact that Marchand can not only mix it up and get under your skin, but he'll also burn you on the scoreboard, as he did on a couple of different occasions with both a goal and a great assist.
I'm okay with the neck kisses when like guys are tangled and there's big scrum and everyone's together. But Marchand like targeted his neck and like skated towards him and like went after it and tried to like kiss him, which is like he went out of his way to do it.
Maybe he was
So
just
that
trying to
weird.
show some friendship.
I don't
Well,
think Marchand was trying to show friendship.
For the record, Chris loves neck nuzzles with dudes, so just keep that in mind if you're ever at HQ.
I've nuzzled you.
Yeah, I've got some neck kisses.
We've all nuzzled Chris. Who amongst us hasn't?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a weird thing to do in a hockey game. But I don't disagree. It's a unique way to be a pest. It's a unique way. It's not dirty in any form.
Unless it continues bound chicka wow wow yeah.
Against the rules, it's not dirty.
Get it in there, Marchand. Go for it, buddy. Koom, what do you
I
think?
don't think there's no reason to question Marchand at this point because what he does is so clearly effective, right? There's nobody in the league that's as good at stressing people out than that guy is, and he's so effective. I mean, he stresses guys out, brings them off their game, and then scores goals, and everyone's like, oh, like, he's such a rat, and he won't fight. But it's like, well, I mean, have you ever seen that guy lose a fucking board battle? Like, I don't know. His game's extremely good and extremely successful, so I wouldn't question it.
He's one of those players that if he was on your team, you'd love to have him. If you're an opponent, obviously.
And Leafs can't complain about this, man. They had Darcy Tucker doing, like, the same things in the early 2000s.
They also have Kadri doing the exact same things, except that
he's not as good.
Like,
Anyhow,
it's not like an Alex Burrows thing where he bit somebody, which is dangerous. You can't bite somebody, but you can kiss somebody.
switching gears to the Oilers.
Yeah.
Last night, Dean Millard from TSN 1260 said a former NHL exec slipped into his DMs, sliding in there with some hot takes that Jim Johnson will be the fall guy on the Oilers coaching staff. I am curious to know what you think. Let's start with you, Chris.
Agreed.
All right, moving on. Dan.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. No, I'm sure that Dean Millard watches the Nation Talks because he caught me saying that 2 days ago after Peter Chiarelli's press conference. I've heard rumblings about this before. I think you talked about it in your article last night.
I did. I wrote last night that a source told me that Jim Johnson was not exactly the most popular guy on the coaching staff, and the players didn't really appreciate his approach to how he ran his end of the bench or how he just interacted in general. So I wouldn't be surprised if he is the fall guy. Koom, what do you think?
I've heard rumors that there was a certain player from the San Jose Sharks that was interested in signing with the Oilers in free agency but had a bad time with Jim Johnson in San Jose, but that's about all I know. I don't know any specifics, so...
That is a heartbreaking rumor that we all heard once upon a time. Chris, I'm going to come back to you. Jim Johnson, is he the man to blame?
Yes. Not Todd.
Not Pete.
Not Pete. Maybe a little bit of Pete, but mostly Jim.
Can we also talk about, I wrote it again last night, that Jim Johnson always looks pissed off about waiting for a cab.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment. I think he's an angry person in general. I think that this season made a lot of our coaches and a lot of our team and fans angry. But I think that if this team truly is looking at a results-driven kind of forensic audit, as it were, then Jim Johnson is your fall guy.
Jim Johnson also ran the defense, which means getting rid of him would open an opportunity for who, Koom? Of course, Paul Coffey. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that seems about right. That does seem inevitable.
It does seem about right for the Edmonton Oilers. Danger Dan, what do you think?
Yeah, that's what I've heard. That's what I had mentioned there 2 days ago. We're gonna have Paul Coffey. I don't think it's a popular move amongst the current regime, but
according to Mark Spector, if you haven't read Mark Spector's article at Sportsnet, go check that out. He throws some heat at the organization last night. Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, it's all the puzzle pieces are coming together, so it just makes sense to throw Coffee in there. And we'll give it a shot. What do we have to lose?
Lastly, I want to touch on something that is kind of blowing up on our site today. It came out a couple of days ago. A fan of the Oilers named Logan ended up picking up our boy Jesse Puljujarvi and giving him a ride home.
Good.
The story alone behind it is unbelievable.
Dan, real quick, could you paraphrase the story?
Yeah, so guy sees a man walking outside of Rogers Place with an Oilers bag and some sticks, and
Bundle of twigs, he called them.
Bundle of twigs.
Immediately
His tongue
recognizes
was
it.
sticking out and he was touching his eye with it.
He's eating pizza.
Immediately recognizes him as the one and only Jesse Puljujarvi. Snaps a photo of him. Jesse, realizing that he's got a fan in the midst, sees the opportunity to ask for a ride, and of course, being the good Edmontonian that what's his name? Logan is.
Logan, yep.
He obliged and gave Jesse a ride to his house, which is apparently our place is just around the corner.
Yeah, so for people that are going to complain that a teammate didn't drive Puljujarvi home, I saw it on Twitter. Greg already explained it, that Puljujarvi lives very close, walks to the rink all the time. It's okay, you're allowed to walk.
And
Remember,
just when you think you can't love Jesse even more.
yeah.
And it's Edmonton too. That's another thing I think that people are kind of losing. It's not. We're not talking about New York City. We're not talking about.
You can
Vegas.
walk anywhere in Edmonton.
You can do anything.
Edmonton's the Manhattan of the North.
Edmonton is great. Edmontonians are great. Logan is great.
Yes,
Jesse is great.
he could take the river and swim to where he wants to go.
Little bit of small town flavor in the big city, right, Coom?
Yeah, I would say one thing I would say about this, Jesse Puljujarvi is very endearing, and I cannot handle another Neil Yakupov situation in which an endearing player gets the life sucked out of them by this organization.
I was going to say,
Please, Jesse, please battle through it. Please keep grinding.
please keep your joie de vivre, buddy, because, like, you know
Please
what, like
keep
you
loving
said,
life and loving this sport.
like you said, this seemed a lot like something that Neil Yakupov probably would have done when he was here, jumped in a car with a stranger, take a ride home. I love Jesse. I think that the memories he makes for fans in the city is amazing. Again, I think back to when he went out and played some shinny with some kids earlier in the year. He is just a big, lovable character, and I can't get enough of
He's
our
the large
large
adult
adult
son of the Edmonton Oilers. The large adult son.
I think something to keep in mind, Jesse, if you're listening, which I know you are, is that we, the nation fans, we all embrace and love you, and we have a lot of fun with eating pizza and the pool party and all that kind of stuff. And maybe it doesn't make sense, maybe it's ridiculous in the end, but we all love you to death and want you around.
I love this kid. Everything about him, he's got a good vibe to him. Like Cam said, please don't let the organization suck the fun out of this kid, because he is fun to watch. He likes interacting with the fans, and I can't get enough of him. So from Chris, Dan, and Cam, I want to thank you guys for watching this. We are up over 10 minutes, which is our kind of finish line. And I'm going to end this by saying congratulations to my boy Cam for winning his hockey tourney and coming out a champion.